Now we are going to move on to our next guest with an additional perspective on national cybersecurity. We have Dr. Kathleen Fisher, who is Director of DARPA Information Innovation Office. She was a presenter at yesterday's AI Summit. She presented on enhancing national security with AI-driven cybersecurity. Welcome, Dr. Fisher.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are thrilled to have you and thrilled to have a representative from DARPA here. Did you have any reaction to what Jason Healy was saying before from a public policy perspective on national cybersecurity? What is your sense of where we are? Are we winning? Are we in a good position or not?
Well, I think we're making a lot of progress, but I think we have a lot more that we need to do. I also think it's increasingly important that we take cybersecurity really seriously, not just from a ransomware perspective, but from a national security perspective. I think the testimony that Christopher Wray, the FBI director, and Coker and Easterly and Nakasone gave in January of this year to the House Select Committee about how we have adversaries that are putting implants in our critical infrastructure, not for espionage, not for national security, not for state secrets and not for industrial espionage, but to cause disruption for civilian disruption and military disruption in the event of international conflict. Like, that's game changing, and so it's really, really important that we up our game for national security reasons.
And I think probably the kinetic activity that's been going on in the Russian invasion of Ukraine probably was a wake-up call. Is that your read too?
Indeed, and I think what we're seeing there is instructive, but I think the potential that we could see in the U.S. is even higher than that, because the U.S. is so dependent on software in our critical infrastructure, and how we've kind of taken for granted that we're safe. Like, the U.S. has had ocean boundaries from a kinetic conflict,
right.
And so like our adversaries have been really, really far away. But from a cyber conflict point of view, the boundaries are much closer. And we saw with the Colonial Pipeline attack how cyber could play a role in a kinetic space. They could impact our national, our gas supply and things
right.
like that. But there's like 17 different critical infrastructures where cyber could impact what's going on in critical infrastructure. And that's why DARPA is really engaged, because it's not just information that could be stolen, it is impact on infrastructure that could be really impactful for national security, for international conflict, for the kind of conflict that we're seeing around the world. And so we really need to up our game. So yes, we're making progress, but we have more to do. But part of what's exciting is we're seeing the technological advances that could really help with that. And part of that is what we've done with program analysis and with traditional kind of cyber reasoning systems is really good, but also the advances that we're seeing with AI technology and large language models. I kind of like to talk about how it's kind of chocolate and peanut butter, two great tastes that are great by themselves, but when you put them together, you have an even greater capability.
More than the sum of its parts.
More than the sum of its parts. You have the cyber reasoning systems, the program analysis, static analysis, dynamic analysis. Those give you confidence, and you can reason about them. You get high levels of assurance. You know what you're getting. You know you high confidence of what the effects will be. But it can take a really long time. It can require really high levels of expertise to be able to use those tools, and it can be brittle. And you have on the AI side, you have the flexibility, you have the ability to talk with those systems in human native forms, you have speed and scale. So those are really different advantages and really different disadvantages. And so we're hoping that when you put those together, you can get the best of both worlds. That's the kind of motivation that led to the AI Cyber Challenge, which is the semifinals are happening at DEF CON over the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is when we're running the results of those, showing the results of those competitions. We challenged the community to do their best with putting those together. We partnered with OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, and Anthropic to give competitors access to their state-of-the-art models, so the competitors had access to the absolute best technology out there to pair their cyber reasoning systems with the foundation models to find, and even maybe more importantly, fix the vulnerabilities. When we talk with people in critical infrastructure, they're flooded with this, here's a problem, here's a problem, here's a problem, here's a problem.
And then the regulation, and it's just piling on.
It's piling on, and they're often knowing that they're kind of at the front lines of international conflict is wait, I didn't sign up for being at the front lines of international conflict.
I wanted to run a blood bank.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or I want to deliver water. What do you mean I have a nation state adversary that's attacking my water system? I just want to deliver good water to my customers, I don't have the expertise to fix this. I don't have the budget to fix this. Telling me I have another cyber vulnerability, that's you're drowning them with problems.
You're under your desk.
Right, but the promise of this combination of cyber and AI, like traditional cyber technologies, like cyber reasoning system kind of thing, with cutting edge AI technology is, and here's a fix, here's a patch, here's how to solve it, could be game changing. Now DARPA does super high risk, right? It could completely not work, right? So this is a technical hypothesis that DARPA, in conjunction with the foundation model companies and tons of competitors, we had 90 plus competitors sign up to participate, and we had 39 teams actually submit possible solutions to compete, are partnering to try to test out this hypothesis. And we will see that play out at DEF CON over the weekend. So on Sunday, we will have some sense of whether this is possible or not. But if they actually can find vulnerabilities and offer patches, that has the potential to be advancing the needle transformatively.
So from your perspective, is that where you see the most pressing and the most opportunity for the use case for AI, and is it in the vulnerability chasing and patching? Are there other use cases that you're exploring?
Well, that's for this technology. That's one of them, right? There are many things that, like cybersecurity in general. It's like security. There's not like only one magic bullet, right? Like cybersecurity, it's like any kind of security, right? It's a whole of.
So walk us through sort of what are the ways that you think your hypothesis indicates are good uses for AI ensuring up national security in the short to medium term? What do we start with?
Yeah, so I think for AICC, the goal is in fact automatically finding and fixing vulnerabilities with relatively low levels of human engagement.
Is it going to be tricky to get practitioners to trust in AI? Because peanut butter and chocolate aside, and how delicious it is, there is a lot of concern that AI isn't as transparent as it needs to be. It's replicating problems up the hierarchy. Like, how are you going to convince the cybersecurity community that this is sort of a trustworthy way to go? Right,
sure. So there's lots of ways in which AI technology is not at all trustworthy and not ready for prime time, for sure. But this is a place where it's a sweet spot where you can, if you can demonstrate a proof of vulnerability, then you have the proof that the AI system the AI paired with the cyber reasoning system was correct in its assessment that this is in fact a vulnerability. And then if you have a patch, you have the testing infrastructure that was already associated with that. I think there's a range of, some of the software ecosystems that we're working with already have an extensive testing ecosystem that you can take that proposed patch and plug it in to that testing ecosystem, and you can see, is that patch up to snuff? And there's an acceptance practice that you would go through the same way if a human had come up with that patch, and you can decide, is that acceptance practice mature enough to take the AI suggested patch and go for it in the same process that a human would have gone through, or is there not a sufficient testing process and you have to go through some more extensive testing because the AI, just trusting that because an AI said it's good is totally not a good idea, right? So there has to be some more vetting process to decide whether the patch, just because the AI said it is not good enough, there has to be some quality assurance process. The same way that because a human developer said, let's go with this patch, that by itself is not a good enough process. There's always some kind of quality assurance process.
Sure. So for those of our audience at home who want to sort of follow this and follow the DEF CON working out of this hypothesis, I'm sorry, that was a terrible way to phrase that, but for people that want to know more, where can they go? Where can they get that information?
Yeah, so there will be lots of media releases after, so you can come to DEF CON, AICC will be playing out. We built a whole city inside of DEF CON. You can come and watch the results playing out. Part of the goal of building that city was to show people who come and watch in the city what the effects of cyber attacks are on critical infrastructure, to develop a visceral sense of it's not just stealing data, it is causing physical destruction. So we want people to come and have that visceral experience. If you can't actually come, we will be reporting on the results in media. So stay tuned. There are 7 prizes of $2 million each. There is a baseline. If you don't get above the baseline quality, you can't win a prize at all. So we are hopeful that there will be at least 7 teams, or there will be 7 teams that match that baseline and win those prizes. That there'll be another, next year there will be the finals, and so to even improve the quality more. If those teams make that baseline, then we will be working with infrastructure providers to start applying and using that technology.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Fisher. This has been such an interesting conversation, and I am going to be very interested to watch how this develops in the future.
So are we. We're hoping that technical hypothesis proves out and it's ready for prime time.
Wonderful. This is Dr. Kathleen Fisher from DARPA. Thank you again for joining us.